Imagine there's a butcher shop with a sign that says, "Today you pay, tomorrow it's free." Sounds great, right? But every time someone comes back, the butcher just shrugs and says,
"Today you pay, tomorrow it's free. Because here, tomorrow never arrives."
This is exactly what procrastination is. You promise yourself that you'll do it tomorrow. But that promise works exactly like the butcher's sign. You're stuck in an emotional loop where you keep sacrificing your future self to comfort your present self. Today, we'll talk about how to dismantle this loop.
Not every delay is procrastination. Sometimes life forces you to push things aside. Emergencies, unexpected events, real constraints.
But what is procrastination then?
It's when you put something off, even though you know it'd be better to do it now. On paper, you want to do the right thing, but in reality, you don't avoid tasks. You avoid the emotions attached to them. That's the real enemy.
Now that we have separated real procrastination from everyday delay,
the next question is obvious. Why do we keep doing it, even when we know it makes our life harder? The answer lives in a loop your brain runs automatically. A task triggers discomfort, anxiety, boredom, self-doubt. You avoid the task. That avoidance gives you relief. Relief acts like a reward. The brain learns. Avoidance feels good, and the cycle repeats. You're not lazy. You're stuck in a self-reinforcing emotional loop. But that loop doesn't appear out of nowhere.
Different people procrastinate for different psychological reasons, and most of us have more than one. So, let's break down the patterns so you can recognize your own triggers instantly.
Perfectionism, fear of not being enough. Perfectionism isn't a standard, it's a shield. You think that if you do it perfectly, you can avoid judgment, criticism, or blame. So, when you stare at that blank page, you aren't just looking at work, you're looking at a potential threat to your ego. Fear of the unknown. We avoid things like doctor visits, taxes, and difficult conversations, not because they are difficult, but because we are afraid of the truths they might reveal. The "I'll do it later" fantasy. Your brain imagines a future you who is disciplined, energized, and motivated. But when tomorrow arrives, it's still you, tired, stressed, craving comfort. Easy tasks as a priority. Your emotional brain loves quick dopamine. That's why you reorganize your desk instead of writing that report.
This is productive procrastination, because you're technically working.
Your brain turns off the guilt signal. You feel responsible because the dishes are done and your inbox is zero. But the one thing that actually moves you forward remains untouched. Motivation. Missing. Research from Carnegie Mellon shows that motivation collapses when your brain cannot see the value in the outcome. Your brain is constantly running a calculation. Does this task matter to my future? Does it match who I am? If the answer is no, your brain cuts the fuel line to save energy. This is why you have to manually reconnect the task to your personal why. You aren't just sending an email. You are building the career that gives you freedom. Once your brain sees the value, the fuel starts flowing again. How to start. Problem. Ambiguous tasks feel dangerous. Your brain needs clarity. If you write "finish report" on your to-do list, your brain sees a threat. It looks at that task and sees a fog of uncertainty. It doesn't know where to grab hold, so it freezes.
To fix this, you have to translate the goal into a next physical action.
Don't tell yourself to write the essay. Tell yourself to open the laptop and write the title. You need to shrink the task down until it is so clear and so small that your brain feels safe enough to start. Distraction overload. Modern technology is designed to hijack your attention.
It usually starts with a lie we tell ourselves. I'm just going to check this one notification.
But apps are engineered to be bottomless bowls. You check one email, which leads to a text, which leads to Instagram, and suddenly half your day is gone. The not enough time illusion.
We often tell ourselves, I only have 10 minutes. That's not enough time to start.
But this is a psychological trap. Your brain uses "not enough time" as a polite excuse to avoid the friction of starting. It convinces you that you need a perfect, uninterrupted hour to do good work.
This is all or nothing thinking. But the truth is,
3 minutes today beats 3 hours someday. You have to learn to use short slivers of time. This breaks the seal on your resistance.
once you see your own patterns, the next step is understanding the price you pay for keeping them alive.
And this is where procrastination stops being a productivity issue and becomes a life issue. It affects your health, your performance, your relationships, and worst of all, it creates regret of omission, the things you meant to do but never did. These are the regrets people suffer from most.
If tomorrow is a trap, then the way out must begin today.
With tools that bypass emotion, override excuses, and make action unavoidable.
Here are the methods that consistently work.
Just get started. The emotion breaker. We often wait to feel like working, but psychology shows that motivation is a byproduct of action, not the cause of it. The moment you actually start, your brain's anxiety levels drop immediately
because the anticipation was far more painful than the task itself.
Implementation intention. Think of this as writing code for your brain using a simple if, situation, then action formula. By pre-deciding your response to a specific trigger, you strip away the need for willpower in the heat of the moment. You aren't forcing yourself to decide to work. You are simply executing a command you already wrote. Here is an example. If I think, I'll do it later, then I start immediately for 2 minutes. Mini habits. The goal here is to shrink the requirement until it is so small that your brain feels foolish for resisting it. Don't aim for 30 minutes of exercise. Aim for one single push-up.
By lowering the bar to the floor, you prioritize consistency over intensity.
You are proving to yourself that you are the type of person who shows up because you cannot improve a habit that doesn't exist yet. Environment design. Your environment dictates your behavior far more than your willpower does. If you rely on self-control to ignore distractions, you are constantly draining the energy you need for actual work. Instead, become the architect of your space. Make the bad habits invisible and hard to reach, so that doing the work becomes the path of least resistance. The Warren Buffett 25/5 rule.
And even the best tools won't help if your life is overcrowded. You can't act when everything feels important.
There is a famous story where Warren Buffett asks his pilot to list his top 25 goals. Then, he asks him to circle the top 5. The pilot says,
"Great, I'll focus on the top 5 and work on the other 20 in my spare time."
No. You've got it backwards. The other 20 are not your backup plan. They are your not-to-do list. You must commit to avoiding them completely until the top 5 are achieved.
Why? Because bad ideas aren't the problem. We know to ignore those. The problem is the good ideas. The other 20 are just exciting enough to distract you, but not important enough to change your life. So let's bring all of this back to something simple, something you can do right now to break the loop. Here is my challenge to you. Pick one task you've been avoiding and give it 2 minutes. Not to finish it, just to begin.
Because momentum isn't born from motivation, it's born from movement.